Hey there, y'all, and welcome to today's Daily Down and Dirty. My name is Fairlight. Welcome to Airy Fairy Tarot. All right, y'all. So, man, the cards are like, this isn't like easy. I just wonder if like everyone is going through something that's not easy. I totally like pulled myself out of it and I'm like, well, damn, this looks like this could be for me. So maybe we're just all going through it. If you look at the astrology, I guess we're all going through it. But the beautiful message for today is trust in the magic of new beginnings or something like that. So the first card that like really came out and caught my eye is this Four of Staffs, Four of Wands. This is like the new beginnings kind of a thing. So I like to start off on the positive note. And really, there's a lot of positivity in here, but there's also some fucking challenge, man. But I really like this. And, you know, the Four of Wands is known as like the 1111 card. 1111, it's an activation code. If you look at 11, and it's funny because today's 1111. Of course this card came out. Dang, November 11th. But 1111, it's like two pillars and there's a doorway that you walk through. So it's a doorway, an activation code. And I love the way it's personified on this picture because when I looked at it, I was like, dang, it really does look like you are crossing over a threshold, and then here's this castle in the background. And for some reason, I always like to correlate castles to new adventures. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. It's the Five of Cups, because when you turn around, you see the two cups still standing. I don't think we have the Five of Cups here, but it's interesting that wanted to be talked about. When you turn around, there's two cups still standing, and beyond that, there's a bridge that leads to a castle. Whole new adventure waiting for you. And it does kind of, I don't know, we do have the Tower card in this reading, and it does kind of give a Tower card connotation. When that fucking tower falls, this card always cracks me up because this chick's legs are sticking up out of the water. Like, whoa, she got flipped upside down. Sometimes that's what life will do to you. It'll flip you upside down. We'll come to that in a minute. An interesting thing, too, about this is that three of the four major or minor arcana, four cards, came out. The one upright, thankfully, it's the one I would want upright, is the Four of Staffs, the Four of Wands, because it is that 1111 activation card. And if I'd have noticed that, maybe that's what I would have called the reading. But I really like trust the magic of new beginnings. We are coming into a brand new beginning. And yes, I'm sick, but I'm doing this reading anyway. Let me see, what else do we have over here? I don't know if I'll acknowledge that one. Because at the bottom of the deck, this Four of Pentacles reversed wanted to make itself known. And, you know, different decks tell different stories of different cards. So while the Four of Pentacles, you know, is usually about hanging on too tightly, and really I kind of feel like that's what this message is about. I also like to see it about protecting your heart, because that's protecting your value. But with this being reversed and underneath this Four of Staffs, it was like way underneath, not at the very bottom of the deck, but the deck moved to reveal this one. It does feel like you need to let go of the old world. You need to let go of, and it could be multiple things. You know, it could be letting go of a paradigm. It could be letting go of perspectives, belief systems. It could be letting go of, you know, parents controlling you. It could be letting go of a relationship. It could be letting go of a job. It could be multiple things. But there is some need to let go in order to access this new doorway, this new activation. And, you know, underneath that, this Five of Staffs has been talking to me all morning. I kept pulling cards. And I'm like, I don't get what the conflict is, but now I kind of get it, that there's a struggle within yourself to let go. Even if shit isn't working out, there's some sort of a control, a false sense of control clinging to what you know. Even if it's a toxic situation, it can feel safe because it's where you recognize yourself. And it's scary to like walk through this doorway sometimes. Underneath that, we also have the Ace of Cups. I want to come back to that in a minute and focus more on this, struggle to release control, struggle to release the old. And then what was interesting is that then we had the Four of Cups, and it was more reversed than upright, but it was at an angle, and I just thought it was funny because it's the cups energy. And whenever I see cups reversed, I always feel like there's some sort of a drain implied. And this card was face down, so I'm like, what is this Four of Cups draining into? And it was the Eight of Swords reversed. So let's look at the Eight of Swords upright. This is about being caged in by negative thinking, or caged in by limiting thinking. So much goes along with that Five of Wands and that Four of Pentacles reverse, like struggling to let go of something. This is like struggling to let go of a perspective, a belief system. Sometimes it can be telling the story over and over again about how somebody wronged you or something. And it's like you keep telling the story to yourself, and yeah, it could be accurate, but what good is it doing you if they're not willing to take accountability for what they did? Or, you know what I mean? You can't force others to take accountability. You can't force others to recognize whatever, because they're coming from their own perspective, and they're probably just as much fighting to hold on to their perspective. And in that, it's not to say that you're wrong and they're right, but sometimes it's like you just need to step back and just take a completely objective perspective, and instead of reducing it to right and wrong, looking at it as how does this facilitate my own evolutionary growth? And maybe this would facilitate the others' evolutionary growth, but you can't worry about them. Some people are going to stay stuck forever. Some people, this is an example that wants to come in. Some people will stay in miserable fucking marriages for 40 years and 50 years and stay with somebody they despise because religion tells them they're a good person if they do that, or because materialism has them so bound up in that they would rather stay secure and miserable than have the courage to so it's like you're not responsible at the end of the day, but you can look at what maybe others are holding on to and say, do I really want to hang on to this and be a mirror of that holding on so tightly to something that I know is toxic? So, and that's, I'm just channeling, so I don't know where this stuff comes from, but it's interesting that you're being drained, and this is reversed, but a lot of times when swords cards are reversed, I see it more as like patterns inside, repeating patterns inside yourself. So while upright, this is being stuck in toxic ways of thinking, or being stuck in a perspective or whatever. When it's reversed, sometimes it's like we're not even aware of it. This is like a subliminal kind of a thing. A lot of times people will look at this and say, you're coming out of this stuck thinking. You're starting to see the way forward. I'd like to read this card both ways, because above it is this Four of Wands. So it's like coming out of this stuck thinking, recognizing where these beliefs really are just holding you in a prison is really good. I think also, though, sometimes just becoming aware of it, again, this is can be like subliminal stuff that you're not even aware of. And so more of that kind of examples, it's like, say you have a new idea, you want to start a new business or something like that, or you have some new creative idea, and by the time you've stood up to walk across the room to write it down, you've already talked yourself out of it. And so it's like, that's what that can be. It's like subliminal beliefs. What was the dialogue that happened that by the time you got across the room, you convinced yourself that it's not a good idea, or you're not worthy of living your dreams, or so-and-so wouldn't approve, or whatever it is. It's like, and like, if you can start to recognize the drains on I'm feeling like you're getting creative ideas. There's ideas for fulfillment, and maybe you're not there yet. And it's funny, all these fours, I read things different ways depending on the context. Sometimes I feel like the Four of Cups is about settling for less than you really want, but in this context, it's feeling more like you're being handed opportunities, ideas of that could lead to really fulfilling outcomes, and just trying it. That movie Bohemian Rhapsody comes to mind, where it's the story about the band Queen, and like where they got their big break. Like they had invested, like they sold the van to make a record, and they were horsing around in the studio, like they were playing with crazy sounds and just experimenting, and someone saw them being super creative, and they felt inspired, and then that led to them being promoted in a higher level of musical success. So there's something about that. It almost feels like it's saying that you've got some sort of an idea or some sort of fulfillment. Your heart is asking you to do something. Your soul is asking you to do something. And it kind of feels like, even though the Fool isn't out here, it's kind of like asking you to take a leap of faith. But I think it's important for you to start journaling and recognizing the self-sabotage, the limiting beliefs, whatever it is that's draining you. Or if you're like, yeah, I'll do it later, I'll do it someday, I have to do all these other things, and everything gets priority instead of the thing that could actually be the way that leads you out of what's keeping you stuck. So then we've got the Queen of Swords reversed, and she's paired with the Hierophant and the Tower card. However, the Hierophant has his back to this Queen of Swords reversed, and where the Queen of Swords is looking is over here at this energy I was just describing. So again, Swords energy being reversed, there's like some subliminal self-talk, it feels like, and almost like afraid to speak your truth. And again, I don't know why I keep going into like, that's not what it always means. And so many different things want to come through. I feel like maybe you're a giant brainstorm right now, almost like a hurricane or a tornado of thoughts that maybe it's hard to catch one. Just the energy that's coming through. So getting a notebook or a journal and just start writing things down and capturing it might help you solidify what it is that you want to go towards. And starting to recognize like what you're afraid to act on, but what keeps compelling you to act on it, and maybe recognizing where the fears are rooted. That's a big thing that it feels like they're asking you to look at where your fears are rooted, and that's with this Hierophant and the Tower card. The only two major arcanas, although these are some powerful major arcanas, so it kind of feels like you're at a pretty major destiny point, especially with this Hierophant and this Tower card. Like you're really breaking down and breaking through some substantial belief systems, even dogmas in your life, that it feels like a time to take a leap of faith. Again, I'm surprised that the Fool card isn't out here, because it's feeling like such a strong Fool card energy about taking a new beginning. But it's also interesting too, we were talking about the Four of Cups, and then here we've got this Ace of Cups. I compare the Ace of Cups and Four of Cups quite often, because in the aspect of settling for less than you want, it's like you don't want the Four of Cups, you want the Ace of Cups. But sometimes it feels like it's saying right now that Four of Cups, one of those cups could actually be an Ace of Cups right now. But there's so much confusion and there's so much breakdown happening right now that it's hard to see very clearly what the fulfillment would be, because there's all this other stuff coming in to confuse you. So I think there's a need to look at and validate the confusion, look at and validate the stuck thinking, look at and validate, like, what are you getting hung up on? And I'm feeling like maybe you're getting hung up on the good ideas just as much as you're getting hung up on the limiting belief systems or whatever. So journaling, you can have conversations with your higher self. I love this. You can, it's a psychological thing as well as like a spiritual practice, where you talk to just identifying it, it's a generic term really, but identifying your higher self, your unconscious brain, subconscious brain, um, and ask it questions like, what am I confused about? And just write down whatever comes through, or write down like, you know, why do I feel like I can't move forward? Or, you know, where's the sabotage? Ask yourself all kinds of questions. Or you can just say, higher self, what do I need to know right now? And just write down whatever comes through. It's really amazing what can be revealed to yourself. But this Hierophant, looking at this tower, there's such a serenity about this. So traditionally, the Hierophant represents like spiritual authority. But my favorite definition of the Hierophant is a person who translates the sacred mysteries. And I always want to say it twice. A Hierophant is a person who translates the sacred mysteries. You are the Hierophant in your life. You just have to make that choice to trust yourself. You know, what are the messages you're receiving from your soul right now? What in your creative self are you being compelled to try or to revisit? And it doesn't have to be about creativity. I like to put it in that context. But like, if you're passionate about gardening, maybe you need to take a bold stand and garden something you've never gardened before, or maybe start a garden. Or if you're passionate about numbers, maybe take that accounting class. Like, it doesn't have to be about art, but it definitely could be something creative, starting a new business, something. Really feels like you're being asked to take bold leaps, though, again, with this card, this Four of Wands, and then this Tower and this Hierophant. I think it's really a time for you to discern your truth, not connected to what others have convinced you have to believe, not connected to, I have to be loyal to this paradigm of religion or politics or parents or whatever. Fuck all of that. If something inside of you is saying, that's not serving me, fucking listen to you. Go towards the fulfillment, and at least write about, like, what are my beliefs around this? And why is this my belief? Is this really what I believe, or is this what I was told I have to believe? What would I choose to believe if I felt like I had a choice? And it's like, once you uncover that, once you come into recognizing that, then you can't unsee it. And then you start to come into unconditional self-love, unconditional self-acceptance, unconditionally having your own back. So don't be afraid of whatever's falling away. Don't be afraid about it. This one. It's like getting lost in your emotions. Like, water represents emotions. Here's this tidal wave. She is upended. If you get like completely submerged by negative emotion, negative thoughts, like, just know that the only way out is through, and breakdown equals breakthrough. And the Tower is so much about reality breaking down. But beyond this construct of reality, whether this is a job, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a paradigm of beliefs, whatever it is, breakdown equals breakthrough. This is all removing the rubble so that you can get a clear view of the path that is more authentic to you. And then we've got this Ten of Cups in this card. We'll get to this one in a second. So Ten of Cups, this is a happily ever after card. It can be seen as a wish fulfillment. Usually the Nine of Cups is seen as wish fulfillment, but then you add in the 10, that solidifies. 10 is a foundational number. 10 is a number of completion and also a number of initiating the new. 1 + 0 = 1, so that's that initiation. But it's a foundation of, I want to say, self-fulfillment. And I love that we went from this Four of Cups reversed to the Ace of Cups upright to the 10 of Cups. 1 + 0 = 1. Aces are ones. It's time to initiate something, and it really is about emotional fulfillment. This is about being happy, being fulfilled with what you do, being true to yourself. And then the last card we have is... I think I was supposed to take this card out, but I love it so much I left it in. And it's so correlative to this Four of Wands. Welcome to a realm where myth and magic are the reality. And so trust in the magic of new beginnings. All right, that's all I have for today. Peace and love until next time.